Culture is the way a group of people live. This is something that I learned in my social studies class some many years ago. So, moving abroad, there are certain things that I have seen and experienced that is quite different from what happens back at home. Some of those things do not happen at all back at home, and some of them also do not happen on a large scale at it's done over here. So today I'm just going to show you or just tell you some of those things. Hey, and welcome back to Every Mom's Hub. My name is Jabaki, and if this is the first time you are joining us, I say a big welcome to you. If you've already been with us throughout this journey, we really appreciate you. Thanks so very much for being with us, and we'll keep giving you great content as we go on this parenting motherhood journey together. So the first thing I want to talk about is the room sizes in the UK. As an architect coming from Ghana, I used to, I had a chance to design a couple of buildings and all that. And yeah, I mean, I know the room sizes and all that. And even in our own homes, we know how the room sizes are. But I came here, went around some few properties, and it's like, why, what's going on here? Why are the rooms so small? They are small and the halls are not as big as, we have it back home in Nigeria and in Ghana. They are not like that. When we have big halls, you enter into, let's say, a 7-bedroom house or a 5-bedroom house, and you know that this is a big house looking at the size of the hall, But it's not like that over here. You come here and a 5-bedroom house, the hall is just so, simply small and all that. So that is one thing that was a surprise to me, because I kept asking myself, is it that I'm not looking at the right properties or what? But I was told that, look, it's not like that back at home. Things are quite different here. So that is one thing that was a surprise to me when I came in here. The second thing that's really surprised me is how expiry dates is put on every single edible item, such as eggs, tomatoes, onions, anything at all that you buy has an expiry date on it. But back home, Ghana, you go to Makola and you buy the tomatoes from a lady selling in the markets. And there is no expiry date on it. The tomatoes are left, right there on the stalls, and you just go and you pick it, you're gone. You take it home, and when do you throw it away? You decide to do that when it's, it goes bad. And the eggs too, eggs with expiry dates. I never saw that back home in Ghana. We know how we check if an egg has gone bad. Yeah, so that was one other thing that I was wondering, why are expiry dates on tomatoes and onions and all of these things? But they have their own way of doing this anyway. That's the way they do their thing. Over here, it's a different way of doing things, and we appreciate that. Over here also, titles are not really a huge issue. You can go to work and call your boss by their first name, your manager by their first name, and it wouldn't be a big issue, unlike back at home where you would have to add the Mrs. and the Mr. and the titles, their positions, and all that, the prof and the docs and all that. Yeah, over here things are quite different. You don't have to necessarily add that, and they'll be fine with that. But we, things are done differently, and we appreciate that you would have to add a title, Dr. this, Professor that's, Mrs. this, Mr. this. Yes, that's how we do it back at home. So that's our culture for you. Another thing is the way that they treat their pets over here. It blows my mind how pets are treated as part of the family. I know that back at home, yes, some people give that kind of care and concern to their pets, but over here it's a different level altogether, where the pet or the dog has its own sofa, has its own shoes, has its own winter coat, the grooming that is given to the pet, it's like Just what you do to yourself as a human being is the same thing is done to the pets, and it's very interesting and surprising to me. Also, that was a very big shock to me, and more especially when I saw an advert on TV asking that people leave something in their will for a dog. It was very surprising. Inheritance, people leave their inheritance to their dogs. That is very shocking to me. Something that would never ever happen back home. It has never happened, it will never happen, I believe. Yeah, so that is one thing that is done differently here. That is a real shock to me. Over here, if you have a dog, you have to take the dog for a walk, since the dog does not have maybe much space to move about, or it's not an open thing like back at home where you can have the dog walking around free range like that. Over here they are locked in the room and all that. They don't have the opportunity to exercise and, you know, strengthen their muscles and all that. And so you usually take them for a walk, and I've seen people doing this religiously, you know, doing it in the mornings and in the evenings. They do it so well, you know, do it with all, you know, precision, perfectly well. And one other thing about this dog walking that really surprised me was the fact that the person walking the dog has a poly bag at hand, so that when the dog poos, they'll just collect the poo and then discard it, put it in the bin. This was a real shock to me, something I had never seen before, and something that obviously does not happen back home. And then we also have the public display of affection. This is something that I believe to most of us is known to us. Maybe we've seen it on TV or something like that, where you see people kissing around and all that. Africa, we don't do this, so we don't do that back home at all. When you see someone, it could be they are married or they are not, they show affection publicly. Public display of affection, that's PDA for you. They do it over here, but back home we don't do that at all. We don't do that. One other thing that I found very interesting is the fact that showing gratitude is something that you see all around here. Most people show gratitude. Thank you for whatever you do for them. They are thanking you, they are showing gratitude. And more especially when you sit in the bus and you get down, you see the old, the young, the children, everybody say thank you, thank you, thank you, thanking the driver for taking them safely to wherever they went to. So that's a very beautiful thing indeed, and I haven't seen it back home. Yes, sometimes you may thank the driver, may say, you know, thank them for doing that, but it's not something that generally you see everybody doing. Virtually everyone saying thank you to the driver for driving them safely. It's a very great thing indeed, and it's very interesting. One other thing that I also found very surprising was smoke breaks. Yes. Back at home, you hardly even find people smoking openly, but over here, you find people smoking. And at a workplace, some workplace, they give smoke breaks where people go out to go and smoke and come back. And this was a real shock to me. I had never ever heard of this before till I came here, and it's something that is not done back home. Back home, smoking is not even something that you do publicly. People don't do it publicly for others to see, and talk less of, you know, having a smoke break at work. Something that is not back at home. We don't do it at home at all, but it's done here. That is something completely different from our culture back at home and what is done over here. Over here, their love for flowers is amazing. Most occasions call for flowers. Whatever occasion it might be, it could be graduation, it could be someone losing a loved one, flowers will be presented. And it's not something that happens at home. At home, when you lose a loved one, who would give you flowers? Usually it's something else. When you are graduating, it will certainly not be flowers. When you've had a child, it will certainly not be flowers. So how they take presentation of flowers over here is very different from how we take it back at home. We hardly present flowers to anyone during any occasion. We hardly do that, and that's our way of life. That's their way of life over here, and that's something that is different or a bit of a surprise to me, because flowers are presented at almost every occasion, but we have it differently done back at home. We don't get flowers for every occasion. No, 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 not at all. Something else is given, and that is the way we do our things. One other thing that was a surprise to me was when I realized that there was no one walking on the streets. I'll be in my room, I'll look outside, and I would ask, where are all the people in the community? Where is everybody? And my husband would be like, you are in your room. Where do you expect others to be? So that is one thing that was quite a surprise to me. The fact that you don't see people walking all around the place. Back home, once again, in Ghana, I mean, I used to go out a lot, moving about from one place to the other, and you see people moving all over the place, and it was a surprise to me. I looked at it and I'm like, where are the people here? Where is everybody? And I realized that, look, I was in my room, so everyone else obviously were in their rooms as well. And that was one thing that was a surprise to me. I would keep on looking outside the window to see if I'll see any human being walking around, and that was something that I kept, looking forward to, but I didn't see much of that. And especially depending on where you live at, you might not even see anyone at all in a long while. Your neighbors, you might not even speak to them in a long while. Some of them, you might not ever even speak to them. That is how it is over here, which is quite different from back home, where you get to speak to your neighbor and to say, Ajwa mame, Kofi mame, how's everything going? It's quite different over here. So that's one thing that was a big surprise to me. Over here also, riding a bicycle is not for those who cannot afford a car. No, everyone, whether rich or poor or manager or employee, everyone rides a bicycle. You can find anyone in this category riding a bicycle. You can go for lectures and you find your lecturer riding a bicycle, or your boss, your manager riding a bicycle to work or any other place. And that is something that I never saw back at home, where you see your boss sitting in that big car and in that 4-wheel drive and all that, never on a bicycle to work. No, I never saw that. But here it's done quite differently. Even at the workplace, they encourage people to use the bicycle, right, to work schemes and all that, where the workplace helps you to even get a bicycle so that you can ride it to and from work. And so over here, it's really doesn't show that you don't have, if you ride a bicycle around, commuting from one place to the other in a bicycle. Everyone who wants to can ride it. But another thing is that over here, you hardly hear a car horn. Oh, we know back home, you can even use the car horn to greet a friend, You greet a friend, you say hi when you meet a colleague. You're driving and you meet a colleague by the roadside, you just, press on your horn just to greet the person, just to say hello, just to say what's up, whatsoever. How you hear car horning back at home is not like that over here. Sometimes you can move around for a whole month without even hearing a car horn. Yes, that is how it is. It's not used like how we use it back at home. That is something that is very, very different, and it's so glaringly different, how the car horn is used back home and how it's also used over here. You sometimes for a whole month you may not hear any car horning. That's because there are rules regarding how it should be used over here. I guess back home too, there may be rules, but things are done differently. And that is one thing also that was quite a surprise to me, or is different from how it's done back home. One other thing done differently over here is how the farming is, done, how they go about farming over here. One day you go, they've graded the land overnight. The next morning you go and they've planted the seeds and things are sprouting up. It's very surprising how they go about it. And you don't see anybody on the farm doing any work. But the next time you come, it's been done. And that was very surprising to me. Where are the people? Where are the farmers doing the work? But the next time you come back, there's something growing on the field. Unlike back at home where you see the farmers with their cutlasses moving about, you see them going to farm, coming back and, carrying their produces and all that. Over here, you hardly even see the people, the human beings doing the work on the farm, but you see the crops sprouting up and a whole field, acres and acres of land being graded overnight. And then the next day you come, something has been planted. The next time you come, it is growing. And the next time you come, it has been harvested. It's surprising. That's one thing that was a shock to me. Their way of farming is very, very mechanized. And so they use tractors and equipment to get the work done. Yeah. Done differently is talks about the weather. Now that the weather is getting beautiful, the sun is coming out, it's a whole topic on its own. You get into a place with British people, and especially if the sun is out, wow, what a beautiful weather. What a nice weather. What a nice day. A lovely day, isn't it? Yes, back home, sun being out is not something that generates so much of a discussion because we always have the sun. And this place, because it's something that we hardly have over here. So when it comes up, we are so excited about it. And as time goes on, you get used to it. Wherever you're coming from, you also start checking and marking the weather and following up with how the weather is going, how it's going to be today. Is it going to rain? Is it going to shine? And it becomes a topic that you also get used to discussing wherever you find yourself. So that's one thing that was quite of a surprise to me over here. And also in April, when we have longer days and shorter nights, sometimes if care is not taken, you might be misled by the weather, because as early as 5 o'clock a.m. you would see that the environment is so clear, the weather is so clear, and then as late as 9 p.m. the weather is still very, very clear. And so during those times, if care is not taken and you don't plan well, you will realize that you are getting late at doing things. But then that's what happens over here. Over here, people can ask you your age and they'll share theirs with you. Or if you are even pregnant, your neighbor or your colleagues at the workplace can ask, what are you having? Do you know what you're going to have, a boy or a girl? When is your due date? They can ask all of those questions, but that back at home, you won't even ask anyone that question. You would wait till a certain time when they would even share it themselves. These days with gender reveals and all that, you wait till that time for them to share it with you. You can't go asking anyone, what are you going to have? And do you know what you're having? Unless the person is very, very close to you, that is when you can even ask that question, or what your age is. Usually you don't ask anybody their age, especially a man asking a female their age. I mean, you don't do that. So that is one thing that is different from this place, done differently. And finally, one thing about them is their show of concern. Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you okay? That is something that you hear over and over again at the workplace or wherever you may find yourself. Should you look a bit down, or, even if you're just moving around, like searching for something, you definitely find somebody asking you if you are okay. These are just a few of the things that I have found being done differently over here as compared to back home. If you like this content, why don't you subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already? Take care of yourself, keep safe, and it's bye for now.